guys, welcome to Beware the Awakening. Today we got a Quantum Cleave featuring our Kingambit from Obsidian Flames with a strike down attack, knocking out opponent's active Pokemon if it has 4 or more damage counters on it for only 1 metal energy. While playing this card with our Iron Valiant for the damage counter placement and multiple switch cards to stack its ability, we also have our Vengeful Punch to prepare for our next KO with the next Kingambit, 1 Zacian from Crown Zenith to help us do early damage with Battle Legion, and 3 Luminous to help our energies show up a lot easier since we only are playing 6 energies for this deck. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game with Quantum Cleave. We got our Kingambit with the new Iron Valiant EX for the damage counter placement. Switching twice for 4 damage counters on any one of their EXs and then doing a straight knockout, 1 hit KO with your strike down using effects of attacks to do a 1 energy KO, which is pretty cool, eh? For a stage 2 card. We do need the Rare Candy though, or we can even evolve stage by stage with the Bisharp. We do have 1 copy of the Bisharp, and the Zacian for early kills. If we get a full bench, we actually get to kill you know, a Frigibax inactive or a Bidoof inactive early game for the first prize, and then eventually do a boss at the last minute to kill the Radiant Greninja or any other 1 prize card they have on the bench to finish the game after killing off 2 EXs. Obviously, it could be way too specific. You know, you may not get a knockout with your Zacian, but it's basically there to counter, you know, 1 prize attacks. This deck is not great against 1 prize deck, as you may probably have already guessed, because it's a stage 2 card. We have to evolve like crazy, and we're not doing any damage. We have a limit how many times we can place damage counters with Iron Valiant, how many times we can you know, use the ability, and once we run out of the switches, we can't play Tachyon bits anymore, we can't do the knockout anymore, so we have to rely on our Vengeful Punch at some point in the game. We also need to play our Rod to shuffle back the Kingambit with the Pawniard to re-evolve the next copy. So against a 1 prize, you should really be relying on Zacian and the Tachyon bits to collect your early prizes, and then, you know, you still have to use Kingambit obviously, because I don't think it's enough. We should be playing Reversal though, because we actually get to play Hack Down for 140 damage if we have more prize cards remaining than our opponent, but I don't know. It only works when you have the counter effect, right? And if we have the same number of prize or less prize remaining, we can't even use Strike Down with it, because Strike Down requires 1 metal, and if we have the Reversal attached without the counter effect, we got 1 colorless. We don't have the metal, so we need to have more prize cards remaining to use either Hack Down or Strike Down, which actually makes Reversal kind of useless for this deck. That's the reason we have only Luminous with the basic metal. Luminous actually makes it a lot easier for your energies to show up early, just because we're not playing that many energies in this deck. No Vessel, no Energy Search, so having special energies will make it a lot easier for it to show up early for us to attack with our first Kingambit. Otherwise, you will never get your energies until like maybe your 10th turn if you play just full basic. Like if you have only 8 basic metal in the deck with no Energy Search, no Vessel, even if you have the Vessel, it's a lot harder for it to show up, just because we have a lot of decks right now that plays multiple energies. You know, Miraidon playing 15 copy of basic energy. So the minimum copy you need right now is actually 11. If you have 11 energies in the deck, with including 1 or 2 special energy and a Vessel, you would have it show up a lot easier, and you can attach on your first turn, right? We don't need to attach on our first turn, we just need to attach when we have the Rare Candy evolution. So that's why we have only 6 energies in this deck, plus the special. Including the special, only 6 energy, which is okay, just because we have a lot of special energies as well. Multiple Luminous. So against Chien-Pao, Gholdengo EX, and Roaring Moon, they also play a lot of energies just because they need to draw out a lot of energies for Chien-Pao and Gholdengo and discard them early for Roaring Moon to be able to play Professor Sada. They need a lot of copies. And if they have more energies in their deck, you will never be able to get your energies early. So if you need to attach energy on your first turn, make sure you have enough copies inside the deck when you're building the deck before actually going out to play it, just because if you don't have enough copies, you'll never be able to attach on your first turn. So it's always important to watch what people are playing in the meta right now, these days, what they have in their deck, how many basic Pokemons they're playing, how many Nest Balls, how many item cards. All the tiny details does matter. All the small little bits. So it's a competition on multiple levels, not just whose deck is better, but who has more VIPs, who can set up their bench early, who can do the first knockout, who can get their energies fast, stuff like that. Obviously, those are not the only thing that matter. If you're doing a one price deck, you can quite easily counter with your reversal box, with your, counter catcher, stuff like that. There are a lot of counter cards now to give you a late advantage in the game, a leg up even when you are behind in the game, to basically turn the tides at some point. There is obviously a point of no turn back where it's too late for you to do anything else that matters, that can change the game in your favor. There's only so much you can do, I suppose, but that's why this game is kind of annoying. I feel like it's a bit too tight right now. There is a point in the game where, you're allowed to have creativity, you're allowed to experiment different builds, but for now, I feel like the game is very, very meta-central and is hyper rigid. Reason being, there are a lot of cards that support Chien-Pao EX, for example, and Gholdengo. So many ways to retrieve energies and do straight knockouts early. Even the snipe power with Greninja and the crazy smash with Scizor just makes those decks crazy broken, right? Even if you counter them with Toadscruel, they got Scizor, they got Greninja to basically snipe for extra prizes. Like, how do you even... They got Iron Hands to get extra prizes as well for Chien-Pao. How do you even... it's bulletproof. How do you even defeat those decks? It becomes virtually impossible just because those decks are way too powerful. It's so airtight. And there are people obsessed with the meta who just keeps making the deck more and more powerful when they already are crazy hyper jacked. On steroids, they're just adding even more cards to make it even more ridiculous. I guess people just care about winning these days. They don't care about challenging themselves. They don't care about making new cards work. Kingambit is pretty powerful. I mean, it's a fun card to play with, but I don't think it's that strong against the meta right now. Against EX decks, maybe. Against Lost Box, obviously not. Lost Box, I feel like, is still the strongest deck right now just because, you have Avery. If Lost Box plays Avery, they can basically force the opponent to discard their bench supports because they need not just Manaphy, they need Jirachi. If they have 2 bench spots filled, that means they have, only three spots left for their basic attacker, for their evolutions, for their, Bibarel, Skwovet, stuff like that. If they discard their supports and leave the Manaphy and Jirachi in play, that means they may not have any way to draw cards on the next turn. So they may be forced to discard the Manaphy. If they do that, when you play your Avery for a Lost Box, you get to play your Greninja for the snipe. If they discard their Jirachi, you get to play your Sableye to basically target their bench with your damage counter placement. So Lost Box is still pretty crazy, even with Jirachi available to lock its ability. It only locks on the bench, by the way, so it's not really perfect as well. I've spoke about Jirachi before. It doesn't block damage counter placement on your active, done by your opponent's basic Pokemon, effects of their attacks. Obviously, if they play ability like Iron Valiant EX, they can still place damage counters on your bench. So we gotta be aware of that. Anyways, let's get back to the game right now. They are attacking with Entei on Iron Valiant, and apparently they may not have enough damage if they don't do the Echoing Horn right now. If they play the Echoing Horn, because they just knocked out our Bidoof, they could actually just take out the EX for another 2 price. But thankfully, they did not play Echoing Horn. I don't think they have it in their deck though. Maybe Charizard EX doesn't play that card. I don't think it makes sense for Charizard to run Echoing Horn. But you never know. They don't have Pidgeot EX to search though. They do have Bibarel for the draw. So we got Rika. We're gonna search right now after drawing with Bibarel first. I feel like we should draw first. So this is the part where we made a mistake. We were choosing not to bench just because we were afraid they're gonna play another Entei. If they do an Entei and then do a boss on the second Valiant, they can actually kill it and then somehow you know, knock out this the first Valiant with damage counter placement. But we actually needed to bench the third Pawniard right now so that we can do another Rare Candy on the next turn. Just in case we don't get the Manaphy, because they actually are playing Delphox for the bench snipe. So we didn't get Manaphy for this game because it got prized, and we don't have Heavy Ball for this game. So eventually I added a Heavy Ball to replace for the third Iron Valiant. So we have only 2 copies of the Valiant right now for the final list. And we have an extra Heavy Ball to make sure we don't get our Manaphy stuck in the prize. If we have Arven in our hand, make sure to search for your Heavy Ball to get your Manaphy. Because Manaphy, you never know when you need it, honestly. If you had to play Arven for an Ultra Ball like we did for this game, then you would be able to draw the Heavy Ball anyways by using Bibarel and your, you know, supporter cards. Iono, Chorus. I feel like it should be easy enough for you to get the Heavy Ball at some point in the game. Arven is basically an additional option for you to get it, right? So it's almost like Mew. If you play Mew, Rare Candy shows up a lot easier. If you play Arven, your item shows up a lot easier, and you would get your Heavy Ball a lot faster. You know, common sense. It's almost like you're tricking the system, manipulating the algorithm into getting your item cards a lot easier. So here comes Charizard, doing 180 damage times 2 for the weakness. We have no Luxurious Cape for Kingambit. So, oh, they are not hitting the weakness though, because Terra Charizard is actually a darkness. I forgot, it's a dark type. I keep forgetting the Terra. And also I keep forgetting that the Terra effect blocks bench damage. So even if they don't have a Manaphy, you can't actually target them for damage on a bench with your Jump Bluff using Matchless Maelstrom or TM Blindside. We just did TM Blindside for our last deck. If you guys want to check it out, it's a super fun deck to play because you got crazy snipe power. We even have our Counter Catcher Canceling Cologne combo to, you know, lock Manaphy's ability for 1 turn. But anyways, coming back to Charizard versus Kingambit. Here comes Ultra Ball. They got Defiance Band as well, because they are playing an EX deck. They could even do Defiance Vest for Charizard though. Interesting idea. That Defiance Vest for a Stage 2 EX is actually pretty powerful. But we have 1-hit KO decks now against Gholdengo, Chien-Pao. I don't think the Vest would be good enough, because they got so much damage output and power for those decks. It becomes almost pointless, especially when they're hitting for the weakness as well. I don't think the Vest is good enough. 40 damage reduction, I mean. So here comes the knockout on our Kingambit. They have the Delphox, but not enough energies apparently to attack with it yet. So this is the turn where we would be able to get our Manaphy in play, or do another Rare Candy on the bench Pawniard. If we just bench it on the last turn, that was a big blunder by the way. If we have the Heavy Ball right now, we could actually, you know, or if we have the supporter card to dig for it, we could actually deny them the extra prize with their Delphox Snipe. Right? No bench damage with the Lost, I don't know what its attack is called, Mystical Fire or something. So they're doing 120 on the active and 120 on the bench, and that means they can take out the Pawniard and leave us with no attackers on the next turn. So that's the scary thing about bench snipes. Make sure you have a means to get Manaphy into play. Never underestimate bench snipe, right? Especially Urshifu Valiant. That deck is actually still pretty powerful right now. So we also have Iron Valiant for this deck, but instead of focusing on the snipe power, we have our 1-hit KO strategy, doing big knockouts turn after turn with Strike Down. Using Kingambit from Obsidian Flames. We also have our Vengeful Punch just in case we run out of our switches. because Valiant's ability is no longer useful once you have no more switch cards. Even with the booster, you still need to switch every single turn, or a Decidueye or some ability to make you switch out your active into the Valiant before retreating to attack with your bench Kingambit in order to activate its ability. So anyways, I think I'm just going to end the voiceover right here. I think you guys know the gist of this deck. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Today I'm featuring our Iron Valiant with Kingambit combo, doing OHKOs like crazy every single turn non-stop. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye from people. Enjoy life!